make sure it's in front of you. I'm going to take you through how I would approach the questions, and you're going to annotate this the same way that I do, okay? So what I do, you do. What I say, you think about and do. So here we go. Read carefully the two passages. Malaria. The net gains of keeping mosquitoes at bay. Okay, I know I'm going to be able to find the two passages. There's one here. There's another one there. I'm sorted. I don't have to worry about that. I go to the next one. Question 1. Malaria. The net gains of keeping mosquitoes at bay. I'll check through. Okay, that's the one that's got that title. That's the one I'm going to be studying. I'll keep that one ready. And then I'm going to look at the question and start underlining words that I need to know about. Precisely, and that means I'm going to have to use as few words as possible, so I'm writing the words few there just to remind myself. What you learn from the article about malaria, I'm going to put a big circle around malaria, so that's something I'm going to write about. And the problems with the use of mosquito nets. That's odd. Okay, so I'm going to have a big circle around problems and the use of mosquito nets. I'll underline the use of mosquito nets. So there's actually two things I'm looking for. I'm just going to write the number 2 down there just to remind myself. I'm going to check the number of marks, which is 12. That says to me I'm going to write at least 12 points to get all of those marks. So I'm going to circle 12. And then I'm going to write the word number next to 12 to remind me that I'm going to number my points. I don't have to do that in the exam, but I'm going to do that for myself so that I know I've got 12. I might have more than 12, of course. Then the next bit says use your own words as far as possible. It's in bold. I'm going to circle that big time and remember to use my own words. Okay, now I'm ready to start. I pick up the right article, double check what I'm doing. Malaria, problems with mosquito nets. Atong Deng put on her finest clothes today and walked for 2 hours to receive a household item that could save her life and the lives of her 4 children. Mosquito nets treated with insect killer are being distributed free of charge by Malaria Consortium in the remote village of Rang Aker in southern Sudan. This is part of a worldwide effort to defeat the deadly disease that is malaria. Okay, I found out something about malaria there. It's a deadly disease. So malaria is a killer, because I want to change the words, and it can be combated with mosquito nets. I've got my first mark. I've written that down. You guys should be writing that on your paper or on your book, because you started question 1.
Can we write on that sheet?
No, we're doing it as an exam. You're writing it as an exam answer. That's my first thing I found out about malaria from my question. Then I go to the next paragraph. What is malaria? Oh good, that's going to answer malaria. What is it? Okay. The disease is caused by a parasite which is transmitted to humans when they are bitten by female Anopheles mosquitoes. Can I use any of that? Yes, it's transmitted by mosquitoes. That's what I'm going to have. It is transmitted by mosquitoes. That's in my own words. This occurs between dusk and dawn when the mosquitoes feed on human blood. Okay. Mosquitoes bite people at night. That's putting it into my own words, between dawn and dusk. Young children are most vulnerable because they've not developed enough immunity to fight the infection. Young children are most at risk because their immune systems are weak or are undeveloped. So young.
You're going too fast.
No, I'm not. I'll stop at the end of the paragraph. So young children are at risk because their immune systems are weak. In Africa, I'm reading the next bit. In Africa, children under the age of 5 die from malaria at an astonishing rate, around 3,000 a day, or 1 every 30 seconds. So I'm just going to say, if it's 3,000 a day, that's not going to be necessarily millions, is it? Yes, it is, because there's 365 days. So I'm just going to write, millions of children under 5 die in Africa every year. That's from malaria. Okay, I'll pause there so that you catch up. Disease progresses rapidly and causes damage to the kidneys, liver, lungs and brain. Okay, so my sentence is going to be, in my own words, malaria damages the organs. Because all those things are organs, kidneys, liver, lungs and brain. Malaria damages the organs. Don't think about it, Ella, just write it.
Do you have to do this word for word, or just what you're saying?
No, you can put it into your own words. I'm just teaching you what I do. Severe cases lead to coma and death. Even getting treatment does not guarantee recovery because the parasite has become resistant to the cheaper drugs. Okay, so I'm going to put malaria often kills. That will sum that up. Effective treatment is expensive. That's not telling me about malaria, and often in short supply. It's not telling me about malaria either. I'm going to ignore it. Okay, so I'm on to my second bit, which is the mosquito bits. Problems with the mosquito nets. And I've got a heading. Why are mosquito nets so important? That's likely to tell me. Here we go. The net is effective. It works in two ways, serving as an actual barrier. It prevents the insects from biting, and it will also kill them, provided the insects are not already immune to the insecticide in the net's fibres. Okay, so that's my first problem. Some mosquitoes are immune to the insecticide in the net. That's my first problem. So the first problem is some mosquitoes are immune to the insecticide in the net. Okay, then I'll go back and read the next bit. The newest type of mosquito net lasts up to 5 years, and experts consider this to be one of the few magic bullets in global health. That's not a problem, so I'm going to ignore it. World Health Organization wants everyone at risk of malaria to be able to sleep under a net, believing this could cut deaths by half. It's an ambitious target when at present fewer than 1 in 4 children in Africa sleeps under a net. So that is a problem, isn't it, with nets? Okay, only a quarter of African children have a net to sleep under. So that's a problem with nets. There aren't enough of them. I'm going to write that down. There are not enough nets, comma, only a quarter of children in Africa sleep under a mosquito net. So I found a problem. Just hang while people write. Right, why are mosquito nets not more widely used? Okay, that will be a problem. One problem is there just aren't enough nets to go around, even though Western donor organisations have become more generous in recent years. Okay, so the West isn't providing enough wet nets. I've got the West isn't providing enough nets. Charities such as Comet Relief have paid for some 5.4 million nets for the poorest and most remote regions of the malaria-stricken continent. This sounds impressive, but a further 14 million nets would be needed just to keep one country, Kenya, on target. Okay, I'm going to summarise that. Each country needs millions more nets. That will summarise that. Okay, then I'm on to the next page. Many of the communities most affected are the least accessible. Malaria Consortium's next stop is the delivery of 6,000 nets to a string of fishing villages along the shores of Lake Albert in Uganda. Okay, I'll put that into my own words. Much of Africa is inaccessible, comma, so nets can't reach them easily. Something like that. So this country has the highest recorded incidence of malaria, and the need for nets is urgent. I've kind of talked about that already, so I'll ignore it. But the villages sit at the bottom of the steep Rift Valley. Well, I've already said it's inaccessible, so I don't have to repeat that. And can only be reached by plane and then by boat. That's quite interesting. So I might add, some places have no roads. And then that shows that they'd have to go by boat or plane. My next paragraph. When nets go out to homes, people can be unwilling to use them or use them incorrectly. Some people say they experience a sense of suffocation or discomfort when sleeping under a net. In Uganda, malaria nets have been sewn together for use in fishing by villagers who feel there is a more pressing need for food than for disease prevention. Oh, I've got a couple of problems there. Okay, so another problem is that people don't use the nets properly. Comma, many don't like sleeping under them, comma, and people use them for other things like fishing. Or, I'm going to read the next bit, bridal veils. Full stop. Okay. There's something about food there, I haven't mentioned that. So, hunger is more important than disease. I might put that as my next bit. Right, next paragraph. Interviews with women in Aton Deng's village suggest that there is a substantial seasonal variation in whether nets are used. Amir Garang already has 3 nets for her household, but she hasn't used them yet because there are only a few mosquitoes this time of year. Okay, how am I going to summarise that? Some people don't use them because they don't understand how dangerous mosquitoes are. I'm looking for sticks to hang them on and waiting for mosquitoes to come. That's sort of the same thing. She doesn't understand. So what I've just said is they don't understand how dangerous mosquitoes are. Okay, next final paragraphs. Dr. Elizabeth Juma, Director of Kenya's Division of Malaria Control, believes it is vital to get people to change their behaviour. So that's a problem, isn't it? People need to change their habits. I've got to change the word behaviour to make it my own words. People need to change their habits. You have to get people into the habits of hanging a net, she said. In many homes there is no fixed sleeping area, so people must be encouraged to carry their net with them. Okay, so I'm going to say their habits, comma, to hang their own nets. The next bit is another problem. Local superstitions must also be challenged. Some villagers have been afraid to use white nets as white is the colour of death. Oh gosh, okay. So
racist.
So superstition is another problem. I'll just say that. Superstition is another problem. I'm not going to mention the next bit. Ironic, given the nets could save lives. The volunteer malaria workers express bitter frustration when they hear about nets sitting folded and unused in the corner of a hut while a child comes down with fever. They know that instruction in how to use a net is as vital as the net itself. Okay. So to combat this, people need to be shown, because I can't use the word instruction, need to be shown exactly how to use their nets. People need to be shown exactly how to use their nets. Okay, I'm on for my final paragraph. That is why Aton Den, the other woman from her village, gather in the shade of a tree and listen while a volunteer demonstrates how to hang the net and explain its importance. Well, that's just about demonstrating, which I've just done. It's a demonstration that's had a great impact on Aton. I learned that it's my children who are most at risk, she said. If they sleep under a net, they cut that risk by half. I suppose I could add that. 50% of children will be saved if they sleep under a net. Okay? So, I've now finished that question. But, will you double check you've got enough? I asked you to number your points. You didn't have time to do that. Do it now. Number your points now to see if you've got at least 12. In the mark scheme, there are 15 marks that the marker looks for. You don't have to get all of them to get all 12 marks. Oh, okay, cool. How many?
22.
Woo!
15. I've got 16.
21.
20.
Okay, so I've got a great sample there. I know you guys are going to be on full marks. Yeah? Now, just to recap my technique, I did not read this first. Yeah, that just wastes time. I found out that actually the 2 parts of my question, malaria, came first, mosquito nets came second. The examiners are trying to give me the marks. Right, I've finished my question in plenty of time. I'm going back to my keywords, which were concisely. Have I been concise? Has anyone written more than a page? We're all concise. Have I written about malaria? Yes. Have I written about the problems with the nets? Yes. Have I used my own words? Yes. Okay, I'm sorted.
Yeah, but we didn't use full sentences.
Hold on. I did when I was talking, so if you haven't used full sentences, you need to change that. Dan?
I was just wondering, in terms of it says as far as possible.
Yes.
What's kind of the limit on that?
Well, for example, you can't change the word malaria because it's malaria, or insecticide, or so.
The thing where you said
Disease-killing substance.
Hold on. Yes.
You said you can use the instructions, so you changed it. Have to be shown.
Yeah, you'd probably get away with that, but because I could do it, I changed.